to day one of the rest of your life. This is Tracy. We're talking about your purpose, your destiny, and how Satan wants to keep you from it. And today we're going to be in 2 Samuel chapter 5, verses 17 through 19 to help illustrate that example for you. When the Philistines heard that David had been crowned king of Israel, they tried to capture him. But David was told that they were coming and went into the stronghold. The Philistines arrived and spread out across the valley of Rephaim. Then David asked the Lord, "Shall I go out and fight against them? Will you defeat them for me?" Let me give you just a little bit of background here, what's going on. David had just been anointed king of Israel for the second time. This isn't the first time when the prophet Samuel came to him and anointed him that he is going to be the next king over Israel. Well, in the meantime, between that time and this time had been about 13 years or so. And from that time, guess where David was? He was in God's boot camp, his training session. This is where God was allowing David to come up against all sorts of obstacles, all sorts of opposition. From King Saul, the one who was king at the time when he got anointed to be king, to the Philistines, and to actually working alongside of them at one point. But then now, all of a sudden, the Philistines, see, they're arch enemies of the Israelites. And so now David, being put in position to be the next king, he is the greatest opposition for the Philistines. And they're like, oh no, we're not going to let that happen. So they want to come out against David and take him out of the scene before he ever gets to be really king over all of Israel. Now, in the same way, where the Philistines were trying to come after David to stop him from his destiny, see, that's the enemy using the Philistines to put that roadblock up there so he will not fulfill it. Satan's going to do the same thing to you and to me. He wants us to be stopped. So we're not going to fulfill that purpose that God has for us, that thing that He has placed on our heart. See, there's a moment where the Lord kind of lets you know this is what you're supposed to be doing. And it could be any number of things, what He has placed on your heart. Like in my own life, it was to go into ministry with my husband, to proclaim His word in whatever way God shows us. But now there's going to be those obstacles that the enemy's going to put into a person's life to stop them from moving forward. See, it's like a boot camp that you're going through, all right? Those storms, those seasons in your life that you came up against that you thought, maybe I missed it. I don't understand. No. See, that is to build you up, to strengthen you, to get you to move towards that purpose or that destiny that the Lord has for you. He has something planned for you. But see, just like King David, he could not make David from a shepherd right into king instantaneously. He had to take him through stuff. He had to build that up inside of him to be ready to rule over an entire kingdom. Now, let me give you another example. It's a prime example that's in the Bible. It's about Joseph. Joseph in the Old Testament, where he was what people like to call a dreamer, but it's not really a dreamer. He had dreams that the Lord had given him, and he really believed he was going to be ruling over his family. And what happens? Oh, lo and behold, everything seems to go wrong. Joseph he's captured by his brothers. He's thrown into a well. He's sold into slavery. He's not only sold into slavery, he's thrown into a dungeon. How in the world could this have anything to do with those dreams that I know God gave me? I don't understand what's going on. Can you imagine the confusion, the disarray, the depression that Joseph may have gone through? But then one day, see, God used all of that, all of those circumstances. He built up Joseph's character. He showed himself to be a man of integrity and to be trustworthy and to use wisdom and God's wisdom. Then he goes before Pharaoh. He interprets a dream for Pharaoh, not only interprets it, and then gives him the solution to how to solve that situation that was going to be coming along, those terrible circumstances. And what happens? The Pharaoh says, well, who better in all the land to do this than you? And suddenly, boom, he's promoted to second in command. Pharaoh was above him, and then it was Joseph. There was God's dream fulfilled. But how long did that take between there and there? Well, if you don't know, it was at least 14 years, okay? It was a long time. So see, God will take circumstances and he'll continue to build us as we persevere through, as we learn to lean on God, looking to him to solve all of our problems, all of the things we're like, oh Lord, I don't understand. But we have to listen, and then he'll guide us and he'll direct us. Back to our story with David. What is he doing here? It says that he went to his stronghold when he heard that the Philistines were coming against him. His stronghold was a place of like safety, a place that where he can regroup, he can get it together, he can pray, he can ask the Lord and seek his counsel, not what David's going to do. See, David was at a crossroads here. David could have just grabbed his mighty men and said, come on guys, let's go get it. We're going to take him out right now and get it done, all right? But no, he didn't do that, because that would have been acting in his own flesh. And how many times do we do that? We think, I got this. I know what I can do here. No. See, the perfect solution here was where David went to the Lord. He asked the Lord, what is it I should do? What is it you're going to do for me? Are you going to deliver them into my hands? That's the big question too. If I do go out against the Lord, are we going to even win? So the Lord gives him counsel. He tells him what to do. And then they wipe him out, but then they come back again. The Philistines come back for another round. And David, he doesn't just go on what God said yesterday or the day before. He goes to him again and he says, now what would you have me to do, Lord? Should I fight them again? And should I do it the same way? And most of us would assume, yeah, sure, God's going to say the same thing. He didn't, okay? He didn't tell David the same thing. He told David, yes, to go against him, but this time he was going to have him go in a different direction and to listen for these rustling in the leaves and the trees and then go in and attack him. See, God has a strategy that will just it won't make sense to us sometimes. We won't understand. But God, since he's omniscient, meaning he knows the beginning from the end and he knows all things in between, he knows the exact thing we should do. And do you know David never lost a battle while he was king, ever? He never lost. Why? Because he did this every time. He asked the Lord. Even though he was king and he was all powerful, he wasn't assumptive in thinking, well, I can do all things, I'm just like God. He knew better. He knew who was God and he wasn't it. See, only God can deliver your destiny to you. So this is why it's imperative that we listen to what the Lord tells us to do. We need to seek counsel from him. We need to pray. And we need to be able to come to him, what I call on a neutral ground, where I'm not biased in one way or another, where I'm listening to what he has to say. And I'll tell you what, so many times I was thinking one direction and the Lord came in and he said completely something different than I ever expected. And I actually was very surprised. And it really was from the Lord. So that's how we need to come to the Lord. Now here's a warning. Satan wants to keep you from your destiny, from your purpose in life. So how does he go about doing that? A lot of times he's not blatant about it. He's very subtle. He gets you into thinking, oh, I got this, I can handle this. He gets you to fly solo, where you're not consulting the Lord, where you're not seeking what it is that he'd have you to do. Let me give you a couple examples that I can see in my own life, all right? When we've been called into ministry, and the first thing you do is you go to Bible college. And do you know a lot of people don't normally even graduate from college, let alone Bible college. So there's one place where the enemy can take people out of their destiny. They just throw in the towel to start with. But then once you start in a ministry, whether it's church or some other thing, you'll have things that come along against you, opposition, and it's normally from the enemy. And it's again to get you to throw in your towel or to get you trying to work in your own strength. Well, you can only work in your own strength for so long, and then you burn out, and then you're just like, forget this, I am done with this. And see, David, in this story with David, he could have just said, forget it, and thrown in the towel many a times. He had such opposition that came up against him between the time he was first anointed to the time he was second anointed. And then this was like David's final exam of where Satan's coming up against him, trying to stop him from being king over Israel. See, in the same manner, Satan doesn't know what God has in store for you because he's not omniscient. He does not know everything, but he's smart. He can see God operating in your life and he doesn't want you to go on the right path. He wants to do everything within his power, using everybody that he possibly can to come against you, to stop you. I mean, his purpose is to kill, steal, and destroy. So he's going to do that in any way that he can come against you to stop you. He just doesn't want you to fulfill that destiny or that purpose that God has for you. Here's one last very sobering thought. A lot of people, they're at the 1 yard line or the 5 yard line, and they give up. They quit. They don't want to deal with it anymore. God had this great purpose and plan for their lives, but they fell away, and they're like, I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to do it. But if you stick with the Lord, if you seek him in all things, asking him to strengthen you, to give you that encouragement, to see those things, that destiny that he has for you, that calling, that purpose in your life, you can really persevere through. You can be like David and bust through that last final exam and move on to what the Lord has for you. See, all of those things that you're going through, they're taking you to that destiny. If you can just see the end goal, if you can see what it is that God has for you and how many blessings are in store for you, you'll be able to hang in there. You just say, Lord, please keep a hold of me. Please keep me focused. And I thank you for your blessings. Remember, it's never what you're going through. It's what you're going to. This has been Tracy from day one of The Rest of Your Life.